Hey everybody, this is Wills with Windows and Wheels Detailing, and we wanted to come to you today with a quick demonstration on paint correction. Basically, what it is, what it fixes, and how to do it. Now we've got a perfect candidate here today. This is a 2015 Mustang, black paint as you see. Awesome car, but it was a rental car before the owner bought it. It went through hell. It went through hell. So I'm going to have Danny come in here real quick and kind of show you what I'm talking about when I say it went through hell. So we've already obviously cleaned it. There's a little bit of dust on here just from us doing the compounding and polishing, which I'll get into in a little bit here. But you can see tons of scratches, or what we call swirl marks. These are clear coat paint defects basically. And they look like hell when you have a dark color car, especially. If you have a light color car, you may not have ever seen it, but if you've had a black car and you wash it and you get it all clean and you park it out in the sun and you still see all this stuff and it looks like streaking, it's not streaky most times, it's actually scratches. So we're going to show you how to get from here to what the paint really should look like. So now again, this is a car, it's only a year old, but it's got 30,000 miles on it. It's got some things that are not going to be fixable, but a lot of it, if you compare it to what we were looking at here and what we have over here, it looks like a new paint job comparatively speaking. So the main thing, how do we get to it? So I've done a couple of tape spots up front. I'm going to have Danny circle around and
circling around
the car. So a couple things that are super important. Obviously the prep work. You want to wash a car, get it as clean as you possibly can first. Then you want to clay bar it. So clay bar is going to remove any bonded contaminants, overspray, tree sap, anything that's on the paint. This car actually had quite a bit of overspray on it, but you want the paint to be smooth before you start polishing. Then when you get that done, get it inside, get it in a cool area if possible. Lighting is super important. We have a lighting room in here. If you don't have some really good direct overhead lights, something that Danny and I use for years is just an LED flashlight. This is a roofless one. You can get one from Walmart for $15, $20, and it will basically be used to check your work. So if Danny comes around again, you can see the hood matches perfectly with the trunk. It's again scratching. Most rental cars are either going to run it through a car wash or they're just going to wash it with basically the equivalent of a push broom. You can just see the scratches going straight back and forth here. We want to get those out. So with any trade, there's multiple tools that you can use. What Danny and I use most times is called a dual action polisher. So it actually rotates. There's no gear here, but it rotates and it oscillates. Kind of like a dual action sander if you've ever used one of those before. In this case, since these defects are very deep, we are using a fairly aggressive type of approach to get these deep defects out. If you look here, this is called a microfiber pad. This is actually a Meguiar's microfiber finishing pad. They call it a finishing pad, but it still will remove a ton of defects. And then the compound that we're using is Meguiar's M100, which you can pretty much buy any place online, or a lot of local shops also carry it. If you want something that's definitely over the counter, Meguiar's Ultimate Compound is fairly comparable. Not quite as aggressive, but it'll get the job done. So I've already been using this for a lot of the car. You can see kind of the bluish tint here. So my pad is what we call primed. It's already got product evenly throughout the surface of the pad. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit more to it. Everybody does it differently. Some people do the 4 dots, some people do multiple small dots. You just add a little bit more product to your surface here. And what we're going to do is buff out some of these scratches.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. So I'm going to do what's called 3 section passes. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. And the benefit of having these lights is I can kind of look through the compound actually while I'm buffing and see if I'm getting my scratches out of that. So I'll have Danny kind of zoom in here and we'll see what we can do with this. Now you notice I want even rotation here. I don't want it to wobble or slow down. I want it to keep it constant speed. Keep your pad flat, constant speed. I'm not trying to go like this here. Constant speed. Overlap each pass by about 50%. This will help you remove the defects evenly. You're not going to end up with patches most times. So that's 1 section pass. Now we're going to go 2. Hopefully see through the light here, a lot of the defects are already coming out. Some deeper guys that we'll have to address on the side. but that's to be expected. That's the second section pass, now we're doing our third. Obviously, most of your cut is going to come from the middle of the machine. So your edges, like back here, oftentimes you're going to need another go at because it's not going to get as much cut at the edge of the pad as it does the center. There's not as much torque there. Alright, we got three. Now we're just going to take a look at this. If I were doing this solo, you can actually see some of these scratches are still in here. I would just spritz this with a little bit of water and continue to go at it. But for the sake of demonstration and time, we will remove the compound and take a look at what we have. Now you can see there's a ton of dust. What these are actually the abrasives in the compound, and these, along with the pad, are what's doing the cutting. You're actually removing a very, very thin layer of paint when you're doing this. So keep that in mind. That's why we use these polishes as opposed to a rotary polisher. A lot of body shops, you go back 20 some years, all they had was rotary polishers. They work great if you're really skilled at it, but it takes a lot of practice and a lot of skill to get it to finish down correctly. These are much more error-proof. And I mean, this is a Rupus 21. There's Porter cables, Mark II, yeah. There's Porter cables, there's McGuire's, they make some, Griot's. There's tons of different dual action polishers where you can still get a ton of work out of it without risking burning through your paint, because you can burn through your paint if you're not careful with this. So you can kind of see in here, paint looks good, but the paint is not, and I'm not just talking about the deep ones. Hopefully this is coming out in video, but there is actually light marring here. So this is from such an aggressive approach. A lot of times when Danny and I first started out, I would do a lot of this work, and then Daniela would come behind me and she would polish all this out. So it's kind of like if you're an archaeologist, you might start with a shovel, but you're going to end with a brush, you know? You're going to finish it off gently. So in the case of this paint, what we found worked really well for it is a polishing foam pad, which, Dan, if you can hand that to me real quick. So this foam, this one is, it's not a finishing pad, it's actually a polishing pad, so it's kind of like an intermediate one, but it worked really well with this. You can see it's much more cushy, much thicker than that cutting pad we were using. So it's not going to be as rigid. We're not going to, be as aggressive basically with this next step. When you put your pad on, center it. You don't want any wobble. You want to try to get as even as possible. And in this case, we're going to use a finishing polish. So what worked well for this paint is McGuire's M205. Whenever you're doing something like this, do a test spot. Like what we're doing here, do a test spot. That way you find out what combo is going to work good for the rest of the car. You don't want to go throughout the rest of the car and think you're doing great, and then when you finish up, you look at it and you're like, crap, I missed something, or stuff like this is still left behind. Something you didn't see at first. Get that test spot to look as good as you can, figure out what combination works for it, then repeat it throughout the car. In this case, we're just going to add a little bit of polish. Same idea. I usually just do the 4 dots. And what we're aiming for here is, Dan, if you could show them here, we want it to look more like this. Now see how this is much clearer? You don't see the marring.
It's dusty.
It's dusty. You do see the dust.
There we go. That's a little better.
So again, if you could show that compared to the spot we just did. See, that's much clearer. This is not as many deep scratches, but you do still have marring. And that's what we want to get rid of now.
It's hazy.
It's hazy.
It's not totally screwed like that, but it's still hazy.
But it's not what we want it to be. This is going to be a little bit lighter, a little bit slower. Just trying to finesse it basically at this point. Same thing, I'm just going to do 3 section passes. You want it to be even, you want your machine to be flat. Again, the difference with a dual action polisher, I can stay on a spot and not worry about overheating the paint, especially with the final polish, or leaving holograms or what we call buffer trails behind. And you just kind of want to guide it. Left hand does the guiding, right hand you're going to control your film one way or the other. So this fluid kind of comes down on the film and I'm going to tilt my polisher slightly. Just want that rotation to stay even. Again, I'm doing 3 section passes. It may be different with another car. You may do 4, you may do 5. That's the purpose of your test spot. Kind of finish that down. use a towel, use a clean towel. Don't go at this with a bath mat or something like that, or you know, a freaking towel that you had at the beach last week with extra sand in it to really grind it in there. Have some towels that are just for your paint. Makes a big difference. That way you're not re-scratching the paint when you go to take your polish off. Same idea when you dry your car as well. So I'm gonna take this polish off.
Nice and glossy.
Nice and glossy. This is what you want your paint to look like. Now, not every car is going to come out as good as another. Again, this is some 30,000 miles. We're gonna have...
Right. There's some pitting in there from driving it so much.
That's where clear bra really comes in handy. If you get a new car, I really emphasize doing clear bra first, even before paint polishing, or do it in a tandem, do it together. But clear bra is gonna help protect your paint from that kind of stuff. So, paint looks good. Now the last thing we wanna do, in the case of this car, we're actually gonna be applying Seacort's Finest to it. But for demonstration purposes, we're gonna just do a basic sealant. So one that we really like to use a lot is called CarPro Reload. You can get 5 to 6 months worth of protection out of this. Looks really good. It stays cleaner for longer. It's a very slick type of a surface after you apply it. So it's not gonna let so much dust cling, which is gonna be pointless in this video, but it doesn't allow so much dust cling, whereas, you know, some older school waxes and things like that, you get a lot of static cling and stuff just sticks to it. Not to say all of them do, but this is one we found that we really like. There's a couple things we're gonna do. First thing we wanna do before applying any protection, we just wanna make sure real quick that there's no polishing oils, fingerprints, it's hot in here, sweat, anything on the surface that's gonna interfere with our protection. CarPro Eraser, this is exactly that. It's just gonna remove polishing oils, fingerprints, whatever. We just wanna make sure this is squeaky clean before we go and apply protection to it. That way we don't have one product interfering with another one. It's gonna let it bond better as well. This is pretty simple. Now, if you don't have something like this, what we used to use before Eraser came out is just a mixture of isopropyl alcohol and water, usually 25-35% dilution, works well. And you're just stripping the oils off. Other thing we want to check for too is we want to make sure that whatever products that we're using to polish with are not filling. So how you saw that light hazing in there, we want to make sure we actually removed that hazing, not just covered it up. Especially in the case of something like this where we're doing a full correction and we're doing our premium paint coating on top of it. We want the paint to look perfect with, or as close to perfect as we can with nothing on it. Then we put the coating or your protection on top of it to lock it in. So then you can kind of come in here, see that it still looks the way it should. A couple little streakies there. Now again, if I have more time, I cut all this stuff out, but I want to try to keep it as short as possible.
He likes to talk.
Kind of the purpose of this demo. Like, it'd be a little bit boring if I'm just here like buzz, buzz, show it. I guess it would work, but not quite as fun.
Be the mime version of a demo.
The mime version?
Yes.
Be real boring. So we like to apply this. You can apply this straight. You can apply it mixed with water. We usually do it straight. And I like a microfiber sponge and just a couple spritzes on it. And Danny can show here. It's clear. That's another thing I really like about this stuff. You don't have to worry about staining trim. You don't have to worry about waxing the cracks, which is something I hate coming behind other detailers. A lot of times they'll use a thick paste and then they will just gum it up all along like body lines in here or panel lines, or they'll stain trim with it. That sucks. And sometimes it won't even come out. Same thing when you're polishing or compounding. You want to make sure you protect your trim. Don't go buzzing over it, especially if the rubber stuff. You can see a little bit of streaks left from this. Just get a secondary towel again. Super soft towel at this point. We're trying to not induce any further defects into the paint. And buff it down. And you basically just buff it until you see that light hazing start to fade away. Usually what I'll do is an entire panel and then come back and do this. It seems to cut down on the amount of streaks. But you can get an idea of what this is.
And if it's still streaking after that, just hit it with a little water and another dry towel and the streaks will come right out.
Exactly. So people come to us, you know, I have some scratches in my car, I need them buffed out, or maybe you can wax them out. A wax isn't going to do anything for this. If I took the same product and I put it over those scratches right there, it's just going to be shiny scratches. It's going to give it protection from the environment. So from UV rays, somewhat from bird bombs. It's going to make it shinier, it's going to make it easier to clean, but it's still going to have all those scratches. A wax or paint sealant is not going to do anything. That's just a top layer. You need an abrasive, or you need something that's actually going to remove a slight amount of paint to be able to get those scratches down. Now the other thing that's really important if you do go at this for your own car is, you see how these fibers are really matted down? Okay, what that's from is from product residue and paint residue. So that's built up in the pad right now. You can continue to go like this, but you're going to lose cut, so you're not going to remove as many defects as you would if you clean this properly in between sections. You're also going to likely get increased scouring or marring like we saw when we first used this pad, which means your second pass with the final polish is going to be even more difficult because there's deeper scouring marks in there you got to get rid of. So our favorite thing to use is air. Compressed air. Get this little guy off of here. So this is like a super cool air gun basically. It's called a Tornador. It just rotates, but you can use a basic air gun, anything that's going to fluff these fibers back up. And when I hit this, you'll see dust go everywhere. That's a combination again of the abrasives from the compound and from just paint residue.
Might I add that we always wear dust masks while we are polishing. We are not wearing them now because of demonstration purposes, but
it's a good idea.
Huge to protect your lungs and respiratory system from all of this compound dust.
Especially if you're somebody that's doing this for a living like we are, you know, you got to protect yourself from that. So you can see we fluff back up a decent amount here. So they're soft again. Now we're just add more product to it and do another section. If it starts to get to where your pads are really matted down, they're not fluffing back up or whatever, switch out to a fresh pad. You just, you know, use the same type of pad and continue on. Same thing holds true even with the foam pad. There are stronger foam pads you can use. Blast it out every section or so. That way you get all that gunk out of there and you're just keeping your pad as clean as possible. Gonna make your results much better, much quicker. So this is pretty much it. This is kind of your main steps. Only thing I wanna add in after you do all this work, you spend hours and hours getting your paint to look excellent. You wanna maintain it correctly. Don't use the broom like the guy before did, okay? The broom is just gonna put this right back in. Even with our high paint coatings like Seaport's Finest, it's not gonna protect your paint from poor maintenance. It's like paying for a supercharger for your car and then putting discount oil in it every 15,000 miles. It's just, yeah, it's a great engine, right? But you're not maintaining it correctly. So don't go take tattered rags and mitts and try to take shortcuts when you're maintaining it. Get some quality towels, soap, mitts. Go a long ways in making sure your paint stays looking like this as long as possible. So again, Danny, I'll show you one more time what we went from. Crap, lots of crap, and what we came to. The other thing you'll want to do when you're looking at your paint, you're inspecting your paint, is you want to be able to pick your battles. Some things you're not going to be able to get out completely. One spot that really stood out, I know it's around here.
Can't see it through all the dust.
So if you look here, somebody wrote their name in there with a key or something, it's not all the way through the clear coat, but it's very close. And some of these, like if your fingernail catches as you go across it, it's probably too deep to try to buff all the way out. Now this will lighten, this will become much better, but if I try to get every little bit of this out, there's a chance of me going through the paint, or I'm definitely gonna thin out the paint. And on a 1-year-old car,
there's another spot over here too.
Exactly. So pick your battles. You wanna know what kind of defects you're dealing with, what's going to come out, what's not going to. When I first tried this, I went to Walmart. I got the little buffer for $30.
With a little bonnet on it.
With a little bonnet on it, and I'm trying to buff out a keyed mark in my mom's car door. You probably guessed from what we just discussed, it didn't freaking work. Okay? I was just frustrated. I had a shiny scratch and I took it back and I was pissed off and this thing doesn't work. Well, it probably didn't work. I was using like turtle wax compound and like Danny said, a bonnet. But it doesn't matter if I have the best machines in the world. That needs paint at that point. You need a body shop or at least a touch-up paint. Like we got a few spots around here we're gonna use touch-up paint on. But for these clear coat scratches, these superficial scratches, you can make your car look way, way better. And you can do it without having to go to a body shop. Be careful, take your time. I know a lot of guys that'll do like a couple panels on a weekend and get them done and then do another couple panels the next weekend if you don't have time to do it all at one time. That's fine. You can do a lot with it. Hope I explained everything pretty clearly for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed seeing the transition on something that's extremely hammered like this. Like this is a pretty bad condition paint, and the results you can get out of it. If you have any questions, you have any comments, concerns, whatever, please feel free to email us, comment, call us, whatever. We like car people. If you like your car, then likely we like you, because we got something in common there.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, we had a little glitch there.
Glitch. Facebook fail.
Facebook fail.
All right, that's a sign. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed everything. Any
I-
questions?
I'd just like to give a shout out to Kevin Davis right quick with Detailer's Helpers
Yes.
belts. These things are awesome. We use them every day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Yeah, if you're a professional detailer, just spend the money and get one of these. We used to have all this stuff laying around on the ground, and every time, I guarantee you move from spot A to spot B, you're leaving something in spot A. You have to get back up and go and get it. It doesn't sound like that big of a deal.
But it takes
It
time,
sucks.
and it gets annoying after a while, especially when you leave your towel on the roof or something, and then you sit on the floor to get a rocker panel.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Then you gotta stand back up and you're doing squats instead of buffing paint. Stupid. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll come back with another demo soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.